So, on August 7th, 2025, the world of AI got a pretty serious shakeup. OpenAI went ahead and launched GPT-5. Now, this is their first major new model family since GPT-4, and the wild part is, it rolled out to everyone instantly. And, when I say everyone, I really mean it. We're talking 700 million. That's the number of weekly ChatGPT users who basically woke up to find this massive upgrade in their accounts. That is a huge user base getting a brand new engine pretty much overnight. Okay, so that leads to the obvious question, right? What's actually new here? What makes GPT-5 so different? Is this just a tiny little step up, or are we talking about something way more significant? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down. All right, first up, and this might just be the biggest change of all, is how you actually interact with it. OpenAI has shifted to what they're calling a unified model. So what does that actually mean for you, the user? This is a really big deal for the user experience. You might remember that before, you sometimes had to choose between different models, one for speed, one for power. Well, not anymore. GPT-5 has this built-in router that just looks at your request, figures out what you need, and picks the perfect tool for the job. It's all done for you, automatically. So how does this smart dispatcher actually work? Well, you can think of it like a super efficient operator. The moment you send your query, it gets analyzed for complexity. Is this a simple question or a multi-step problem? And based on that, it instantly selects the best possible model from a whole family of options to get you the right answer. And here is that family of models it chooses from. You've got the main model, which is the workhorse for most of your daily tasks. Then there's Mini for when you need a super quick, almost instant answer. For the really tough problems that need deep thinking, it'll call on the powerful Pro model. And there's even a Nano version for smaller on-device tasks. But the key thing to remember is you don't have to think about any of this. The system just picks the right one. Okay, so let's move on from the system architecture and talk about the next crucial area of improvement, making AI more trustworthy. I mean, a smarter AI is great, but a safer, more honest one? That's absolutely essential. This has always been the Achilles heel for these large language models, right? How do you stop them from just making stuff up or from just mindlessly agreeing with you? Or even worse, hiding their own mistakes. OpenAI is claiming they've made some major progress here. So let's take a look at the actual data. First on the list, hallucinations. That's the official term for when an AI just confidently states fiction as if it's fact. Compared to its predecessor, the main GPT-5 model has a hallucination rate that is 26% lower. And that's a really meaningful improvement in its ability to just stick to the facts. Next up is something called sycophancy, which is, that annoying tendency for an AI to just agree with whatever you say, even if you're totally wrong. And look at this chart. The drop here is dramatic. By actually rewarding the model for pushing back on incorrect ideas, OpenAI has made a much more independent and way less of a digital yes man. And really, this all comes down to building a more honest AI. OpenAI got pretty clever here. They specifically trained GPT-5 to admit when it fails. They give it tasks with, say, broken tools or missing information, and then reward it for saying, I can't do that, instead of trying to fake its way through. The result? On coding tasks, the deception rate absolutely plummeted, from 0.47 all the way down to 0.17. It's just better at knowing when to say, I don't know. Okay, so it's smarter, simpler, safer, and more honest. But how does it actually perform when you put it head-to-head with its biggest rivals on all those standardized tests? Let's go ahead and check the report card. On a lot of the key benchmarks, GPT-5 is basically a straight A student. It is now a leader in coding, beating out its rivals on the really tough SWE bench. It's excelling at PhD-level science problems. It gets a perfect score on advanced math competitions when it can use its tools, and it cuts down on errors in health queries by a massive 87%. But to give a fair and balanced picture, it's not a complete clean sweep. Let's look at what are called agentic tasks, so things like navigating a website to buy something or book a flight. Here, on the Tau bench tests, GPT-5 is really, really good, but it does still slightly trail some competitors like Claude Opus 4.1 and even one of OpenAI's own older models in a few specific tests. It's just a good reminder of how incredibly competitive this field is right now. So all of this brings us to the final and maybe the most important question. When you add all these advancements up, is GPT-5 a true revolution? Or is it more of a really solid evolution? Well, if you ask OpenAI's CEO, Sam Altman, he is not surprisingly very bullish. His take? GPT-5 is now, quote, the best model in the world for coding and writing, and those are arguably two of the most critical use cases out there. But the view from the outside is a little more measured. I thought Wired had a fantastic comparison. They called the upgrade similar to an Apple move to the Retina display. Yeah, it's noticeable. It's obviously better, but it doesn't fundamentally change what the device is. In other words, it's not a revolution.
So what's the bottom line here? Look, GPT-5 is a really significant, really important upgrade. That unified router makes it way simpler to use, and all the safety improvements make it far more reliable. It is, without a doubt, a better tool. But it's not that massive, paradigm-shifting leap toward artificial general intelligence that I think some people were maybe hoping for.
And this leaves us with a fascinating question to chew on. For the last few years, we've seen these massive, world-changing leaps in AI. GPT-5 is a powerful improvement, for sure, but it feels more like steady, solid engineering than some kind of shocking breakthrough. Which really makes you wonder, is this the new normal for AI development? Are we moving from an era of revolution into an era of evolution?